Welcome to another episode of Reading Between the Words. What does that really mean? It means that the author themselves tell you their story. They tell you why they wrote the book, what they want you to get out of it, and all the other little details and secrets that you wouldn't normally get to know. So let's join in and listen. Today we have Anna with us. Anna, I'm so glad you're here, and you have two books for us. Can you tell us about them?
Yes. My first novel, this is The Right Way to Say Goodbye. And this book was a definite labor of love. It took me 5 years to write. And
Ooh.
this version is actually the second version. The first one was published originally in 2020, but it is no longer in print because I'm not with that publisher anymore. So I self-published, which was a beast all its own. Let's just get that out of the way. But writing this book, it's about a young man who's a single father and he's trying to hold together his crumbling marriage to his
Ooh.
estranged wife. And he's not a believer, but his son is. He wants her back, but he's mad at her. He's all the feels are in this novel. And it wasn't written based off of my life, but when I was going through my second divorce, that is when I felt inspired to write it once I came back to Christ. So it started out, everything was going to take place in California, which is where I'm originally from. But I kept hitting a wall at some point because I live in Connecticut now. But I kept hitting a spiritual wall, or I don't know what you call it, writer's block. I just couldn't get past a certain point, kept retooling it. It wouldn't work. I
Yeah.
felt like God was telling me, you need to do what I want you to do. And of course, I was being stubborn and saying, no, I don't think so. I got this. We just need to wait it out a little longer, which is why it took 5 years because I kept fighting whatever he wanted to do until one day I realized what I was doing was hampering the ability to move forward. And I finally surrendered and we moved everything from California based to Connecticut based in my novel. And then it just flowed. And
Wow.
yeah, so
Wow. Amazing how
that,
just a change can do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, when God tells you to do something, you should do it. And I used to write a whole bunch of stuff that was not good content, that did not glorify God. So when I came back to Christ and I told him I was going to write for you, I guess I didn't realize that he was going to use me as his ghostwriter. So I didn't realize that I, ultimately it's whatever he wants to say, which gets into my second novel, which is called And Then My Life Happened.
Oh,
That,
and these are both fiction written,
yes,
right?
yes,
Okay.
fiction. And they're faith-based fiction. So, I mean, it's got something for everybody. You don't have to be a Christian. It brings in the gospel but it's not overly like you just went to church kind of a thing. So anyone can read it and be inspired. But the second novel is about a young 20-something who is on top of the world with his DJ career. He's one of the best of the best. He's well known. He's loved by all his fans, success, all the stuff. But he's feeling empty inside. He's trying to mask it with alcohol and drugs and all these other things. And he even tries to end his life at one point, but he doesn't at the last minute. He just decides against it, runs off and goes off grid. And while he's off grid, he meets this young woman who he starts liking and finds out she's a missionary and she's only there for a temporary time, but they connect really well. And I will say that after writing this, the reason why I wrote it is because I listen to a lot of techno music. So I love DJs and everything. And I heard about a DJ named, oh, I can't remember his name at the moment, but Avicii, that's his name, Avicii.
Okay.
And he committed suicide, and that
Oh,
kind of broke my heart because he was young and it basically was like my character. But I had not written the story yet. I was listening to a song driving, and it was a techno song, and that song just hit me in a way that it hadn't before because I love the song, but it just hit me differently. And I started thinking about that DJ, even though it wasn't even from him. But the story just came to my mind while I was driving to Walmart. And I said, I'm going to write this. So it came out a year after I had published my first novel the first
okay.
time. Came out in 2021. I rushed writing that story, and I love the story, and I can't wait to do a second edit because I know I made a few minor mistakes you make when you are rushing through something. But it's a powerful story. I cried several times while writing it. I think I've cried writing all my different stories that I write at one point. But I just put so much emotion into it and so much heart and pieces of me and my life story into it. Because I've always been told I should write my life story, but I don't really like reading, I don't like writing nonfiction. I'll read other people's stories. I have no problem with that. I love reading missionary stories. I love reading my friends' stories that they've written about their lives. I'll read those all day long, but I don't want to read one about myself. And
Yeah.
it's mostly because I have a lot of things in it in my story that I don't want to name drop. I don't want
Mm.
to discredit anybody that I may still be in contact with because I've mended fences with them.
Right.
So I just realized, I can't do that. But what I can do is I can put pieces of who I am and what I've done or, experienced, I can put those into my stories. So my stories are faith-based. They are fiction, but they deal with real tough life situations like
Right.
suicide and depression, you know, wanting to save your marriage while someone doesn't, infidelity, all these other things that my other stories have themes of. And I really love writing. I've always loved writing since I was a lonely 17-year-old, which brings me to my next novel, which is hopefully, God willing, before this year, I can get it out.
Nice.
The thing with this one is that I did write it when I was 17 and I claimed to be a believer, but I was going through some mental issues, health issues. I was losing friends because they weren't hanging out. Like I was just a bitter, angry teen who was stuffing it all inside and lonely and had a computer and I just started writing. And that's basically what the story is how a 17-year-old would write it. I mean, I did upgrade the spelling, make sure I spelled everything
There you
correctly,
go.
and the grammar, but that's about it that I touched. So
Oh,
the
cool.
content is not quite what I write now, but I think it would give a lot of people, especially young adult readers who are going to read it, it'll give them hopefully something where they can understand. I feel that way too. I
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it. This is what I want to, or whatever emotions they're going through. So I'm going to publish it. It's been a while. I've always wondered what should I do with it. So it's going to be really cheap. It's not going to be as much as the other books are, as bare minimum to as free as I can possibly get it, because I just want to share it with everybody because it's what started my love of writing.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
like a thriller in a sense,
Oh,
so it's kind of a little dark. But again, I was a hurting teen, and you can see my influences in it. And I just find that amazing as I was reading it now. I was like, wow, I don't remember that being in there. Wow, that is a 90s reference for sure. It's just like all these different things. So it's definitely a fun blast from the past that I just want to share. And I'm hoping it'll encourage some other lonely teens to just write. If you
Yeah.
feel something, write it. You don't want to keep it hidden inside because it's not healthy to do that. So
Well, that's,
writing was how I got it out. It was my
yeah.
passion. It's always been my passion. It still is. So I
And it's
gotta I
really
gotta
good you
get it
didn't
out
change
there.
it. Yeah.
Huh?
It's really good you didn't change it from
Yeah.
back then because it, I think it would take away the authenticity of it to
Yeah.
where there it is. It's raw, it's
Yeah.
real, and it is the way it was at the time. And it's good
Yeah.
to see that we do grow, we do change all the time. I was watching the movie last night with Phil Robertson,
Hmm.
and he talks about, and I watched little reels about that were interviewing him and his family, and he talks about the one time about how, both of them at one time thought about suicide in their life, and something happened to kick them out of that. But he says, it's one of the most selfish decisions to make
Hmm.
because one, you don't give anybody a chance to help you through this.
Yeah.
And two, you're quitting on yourself and you're quitting on everybody else. And you don't know, life is I've said it before, life is like a river. It's fluid, it's always flowing. And so it's changing. And what is going to be so tough right now, it's going to be nothing later. Part of that is because you made it through there. I have a little paper on my laptop, and one it says successful is something you are right now by John Maxwell. But then the part I have from Steve Harvey is you already have 100% success rate because of those times that you thought you were never going to get through them. You got through them,
Hmm.
and now you're better for it. And so anybody that might be even thinking about that, reach out to people for help. Just flat out tell them, I need help. Some people are afraid to because they're afraid of certain laws or certain things that are going to backlash at them. But talk to somebody,
Yeah.
military, talk to a military person, talk to your best friend, talk to somebody, talk to God if you've got nobody. He's always there, always listening, even though we don't think so.
Yeah.
But do talk. Or as you did, and not that I'm saying that that's what you were doing, but many people do start journaling. They start writing things out. They
Hmm.
write out how they feel, why they are feeling this, what's going on in their head. And but don't give up, don't quit. Just
Yeah.
try for one more day. And some days
Yeah.
are tougher than others. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely agree. It's
And and I think just about everybody goes through that, has that thought sometime in their life.
hmm.
And the thought is there not because it comes from inside of you, but because it comes from an outside force that doesn't want you to win. Because there's always an outside force that wants you to stay down and not get up and not keep going.
Yeah.
But you have to say, no, you're not going to win. I'm the winner. I'm the one in control here,
Yeah.
and take that control.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So, okay, show us your books again and tell us their titles.
This is called The Right Way to Say Goodbye.
By Anna Murby. Not lovely color.
Thank you.
Cover.
I
It's
love
black
black
and
and
white.
white.
Yeah, it's a
It's so
great cover.
classic and yeah. And then this is And Then My Life Happened.
And that's a really strong cover you have on there too with the
My cousin's publishing company. He's
oh,
the one who did this for me. Yes.
nice.
He's very
Nice.
creative. Yeah.
And
Uh,
where can we find the books?
you can find them on Amazon if you want. You can also go to my website, honestchristianconversations.com. That's for my podcast. But there is a link up top that says books and it'll take you to where you need to go. But Amazon, you just look up the title, the name, it'll come up.
And if somebody wants an author signed copy, would they get a hold of you on your website?
Yeah, they could leave a contact and ask me for that, and I'll try to make that happen for them.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. So no, it's not your name. That's the website. What's the website again?
honestchristianconversations.com.
Love that title. And do
Thank
you
you.
still podcast?
Oh, yes. And a
Yes.
new episode
Awesome.
just came out today.
Oh, good, good. And it's called
Yeah.
Honest.
Yeah. Honest Christian Conversations.
Yeah, love that. That's a great title. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Lynn, for being here and for
Yeah.
sharing your books and your story. We're looking forward to the third book coming out too. So excited about
Nice.
that.
Yeah.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, and thank you, our audience. Go to Honest. I'm having a hard time remembering Honest Conversations,
Honest Christian Conversations.
honestchristianconversations.com. You can hear the podcast, you can see her books, you can contact her to get an autographed copy, perhaps. So that's wonderful. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Reading Between the Words. Go to www.readingbetweenthewords.com.